I started a process, put together a first book, wrote a second book the same summer, and then as I've gone around presenting at different conferences, which is where I met your professor, different teachers have given me other ideas. So I do function of the day with my classes right now. And then some teachers have said, well, I teach geometry, we don't do functions, and so we've come up with figure of the day. And then I have a 7th grade teacher that you're going to see in here, and she does problem of the day. And I'm going to show you examples of all these, and I want you guys to think of how it will work with the students that you teach. So what I've noticed is throughout me doing this for several years, and then the feedback from the teachers over the last 3 years, which I've shared this idea all around, is these are the things that will happen. One, their vocabulary increases because they're talking about math. They're coming in, the problem's on the board, they're talking about math, and they're writing these 10 things about it. So their vocabulary is increasing because they're using the same terms to talk about it. Their understanding is definitely increasing. Their engagement, they're engaged, they're working together, they're talking about math. They remember it more than just the day that they learned it, because what they did the first day of school is still the same as the last day of school, because it just builds and builds and builds. If you say linear, or if you say increasing, and you're talking about a linear function, and you're still talking about some type of function at the end of the year, they still know increasing because they learned it the first week of school. And then what I also noticed with a lot of my students is their test scores went up. And their the first year I did it in Oklahoma, our test scores were amazing. We were in the 90s, 94% or something, and I thought, wow, this really works. This review where they retain is kind of like a cumulative review throughout the year. It really works. It helps them remember for their tests. And then my high school kids, and the seniors and the juniors that I taught, their ACT and the SAT scores were up too. Definitely for you guys middle school, you're preparing the more that they know that vocabulary and have a better understanding of math. Obviously that's going to prepare them for their high school math classes. And then my favorite is this one, is that it builds their confidence in math, because if they can do something first thing when they walk in the class and be successful at that, then they have confidence that, oh, maybe I can do that. If you gave them this problem and you were in the routine of doing problem of the day, they knew they had to write 10 things, what might 7th grade, 8th grade students say about this fraction existence?
They could say that it's greater than 50%.
Okay.
Close to 1.
Okay.
Greater than 0, less than 1.
Okay.
That it's 60%.
Okay. I'm coming fast.
Is it 6/10 in
If you were-
decimal form?
If you were to simplify it, it would be 3/5.
Okay.
Did you already say it was a decimal?
Yes.
Okay.
6/10. 0.6.
Yeah, 0.6. Well, it's a rational number.
Okay. These are some of the kids, what they said about.
I like that we do it every single day. That way we get the hang of it and start being more comfortable with functions.
You guys said, give them an expression. What's everything you could say about 2x plus 5 plus 3x? They could say, there's a variable. There are 3 terms. There are, like terms. You could combine. The coefficient is this. So whatever you're talking about, inequalities, you could write x is greater than 5. They could say a whole lot about x is greater than 5. On a number line, is it an open circle or a closed circle? Would it be to the left of the 5, to the right of the 5? What numbers will be greater than 5? What numbers will be less than 5? And you don't have to do 10. You could do 5. You could do, we're going to do 5 facts. And maybe for some students in some classes, except you said you had some classes that could come up with, they can write the 10 questions about the problem.
Right.
But maybe for your classes that maybe go with just the 5. I would just find some way, because I've not taught middle school in a very long time, and when I created functional day, I was teaching seniors. But I feel like, and I'm excited to see what you guys can come up with. Like, what units do you have, and how can you what can you put on the board for them to, and even if it's a review, you're gonna do ratios and equivalent, did you say you're about to do ratios?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you just give them just a ratio, or just start with a fraction, just start with something so basic. So, because you guys said 6/10 was the same as 3/5, right? Yeah, so start with something so basic. If you're talking about ratios, they gotta understand fractions. If you don't have time to remediate all that, do that for your bell work and pull in some concept that they need to a prior knowledge of. But the idea that they do have a routine that they do first thing when they come into class and they're successful at it, and it just builds and builds and builds, and they have success with that. Because if they did 6/10 this day, and then you go to, you know, I don't know, 10, I was trying to think of a number that wouldn't, or simplify, 6/8, or 10/12, or, you know, something, then they've done it one day and they can say, okay, I see the process. I can come up with a lot of these things knowing what I did from the day before. And here's the other thing, is you guys do this, I'm having some teachers that send pictures. At some point I'm gonna get some videos of some middle school kids doing, like the simpler things. So keep that in mind as your kids are doing it. Kids go into the board in groups of 3 and put in the posters all around the room, random. I have my kids pick cards, do the face cards. If you're the 4s, you go on this board. If you're the 3s, you go on this board. If you're the 8s, you go on this board. And the discussions that happen, sorry, the clicker's like super sensitive. The discussions that happen when they're at the board talking together and that's their group is great. And I love that. Getting kids to talk about math, they're not at their table, they're not with their normal people, random, or if you need to not make it random, like if you know that this kid can't stand with this kid and you're handing out your face cards to group them and that kid gets a 2, you know not to give that other kid the 2. A fun review game that I do is just a bingo board where with whatever you're reviewing, put them, I have the kids fold the paper in 16 squares, and you know, we're getting real creative, like linear positive, linear negative, cubic positive. So I'm just trying to create 16 things that they are talking about, and then they randomly, I give them a list of 16 things, and then they randomly just place all their things in different places. So none of their boards are the same.